when an avoidant wants to come back, they're not just going to show up at your door or tell you directly. That's because avoidants are prideful, cautious, and careful. So they're going to test you in quiet, strategic ways. With avoidance, it's always about strategy. And you won't even know that you're being tested. The tests are meant to reassure them that if they do come back, they're not going to lose themselves again. So today, I'm going to discuss the 3 tests that your avoidant ex will use before coming back and how to make sure that you do not fail them. So stay tuned. But first, welcome back to my beautiful No Contact Army. This is the general of the No Contact Army, Lucia, with the Art of Love. And have you been a good little soldier? If you have, then you've downloaded my app Silencio to help you stay in no contact. The link to that is underneath every single video and podcast. And if you too would like to join our army, all you have to do is hit the subscribe button and the bell notification, and you're in. And to read our manual, go to nocontactsecrets.com, where you can read 2 free chapters before you purchase the book. So before I tell you what the 3 tests are, I want to talk about why avoidants even test you in the first place. So they're not testing you because they're cruel or they want to hurt you. They're doing it because they're scared of needing someone. They're terrified of being seen and rejected and of losing control of their emotions. So every move that they make during this stage is an attempt to see whether you can handle their fears. And if you can, you're actually going to help rewire their nervous system to see that love can actually feel safe. So the tests aren't about power, they're about safety. Without knowing it, they're actually looking for a stable anchor since their childhood was so unstable. So the first test is that they'll want to see if you're still emotionally available for them without risking rejection. They want to know if you're still waiting and if you've been affected by the silence. They want to confirm that you haven't moved on so that they can feel safe, that you're still there as an option. As usual, the best way to pass this test is to do absolutely nothing. Don't chase them. Don't post anything that they could think is aimed at them. Don't start liking their posts back when they start liking yours. That is not how you're going to get them back. Avoidants want both emotional safety and challenge. And most of y'all, you just give emotional safety without the challenge. They need both. So when you don't jump just because all of a sudden they pop back up, they'll question the story they had told themselves that you would always be there. And that's when their anxious side kicks in if they're a fearful avoidant or an anxious avoidant. And they'll wonder if they lost you for good. And that fear is what ignites their pursuit. So you pass the first test by doing nothing through silence and self-respect. The next test is the vulnerability test. Once they see that you're calm and you're not chasing them, and I'm talking to you guys with an anxious attachment style, they'll send a surface level text such as, "How have you been doing?" What they're doing is gauging your energy. They're looking for emotional clues. Are you mad, cold, super excited to hear from them? If you're angry or needy, they're going to back away. If they sense that it's okay, they'll share something a bit deeper, like, "I've been thinking a lot about the past," or "I missed you." And if you rush in to reassure them by saying something like, "Well, we could have made it work," or "I miss you too," believe it or not, they're going to feel pressured. So you want to respond with something like, "Well, what have you been thinking?" And this works because it's neutral but curious. You're not cold, but you're also not giving them emotional reassurance. And that forces them to clarify their intent. You're not matching their vulnerability or nostalgia. That way, if they're fishing for validation, they're going to stay vague and just say, "Oh, memories." If they're more introspective, they'll open up and say something like, "Well, I realize I didn't handle things right." Either way, you get information without giving up power. If they say, I miss you, it could mean several things. It could mean, I'm lonely and need comfort. I miss how you made me feel. Or, I've reflected and actually want to rebuild. And you can respond with, well, what is it exactly that you miss? And if they say you can follow up with, what about me? Are they going to say something emotionally lazy like your smile? Or emotionally accountable like the way you made me feel safe even when I didn't deserve it? So you'll basically know which version of them you're dealing with. And you can respond with, I miss the good parts too, but that alone doesn't fix what went wrong. That way you acknowledge their emotion, but you're keeping reality front and center. And absolutely do not respond with, I miss you too, because now you're rewarding nostalgia instead of accountability. And don't ask why, because that puts you into the interrogator role, and that will trigger their defensiveness. When an avoidant says, I miss you, that is not the finish line. It's a test. So your goal is to respond in a way that makes them reveal their intentions. If they can go deeper, there's potential. If they stay surface level, you've got your answer without giving anything away. So with this test, they're subconsciously checking if they can be open with you without feeling trapped. The more composed you are and show emotional self-control, the more their defenses melt. When you show that you can handle closeness without creating chaos, then they can't help but feel closer because they feel safe with you. So this test is passed through emotional composure. And the last test is reconnection. They'll want to keep in touch and meet up, but they're not going to come right out and say that they want to get back together. And this is their way of cautiously checking to see if you're going to trigger them again. So during this test, they're looking to see how you react to inconsistency. And if you hadn't already figured it out, avoidants are not consistent, especially fearful avoidant. So the key to dealing with an avoidant is to understand this. That way you won't be thrown off with the hot and cold and the push and pull, and if anything, you'll come to expect it. So during this test, if you're demanding clarity or asking a lot of questions, you're going to fail the test. You disarm their fear by staying calm and grounded, which is often hard to do if you have an anxious attachment style, which is why I always suggest that if you're in no contact with an avoidant, you should be working on yourself. And I always suggest the book Anxiously Attached, and the link to that is underneath this video. So something amazing happens when you pass all 3 tests. The avoidance stops pulling away. Hallelujah. Stops being hot and cold. Because the number one thing avoidants need and want is someone who's consistent. Yes, I know, even though they're not consistent. So avoidants don't believe promises, they believe patterns. When you consistently show that you can remain calm, have emotional mastery, and can love them without losing yourself, they'll realize your love won't threaten their freedom, and they'll understand that committing to you means that they finally found the peace that they've been so desperately looking for. And if you're one of those people who wants to make a snarky remark in the comments, such as, oh, this is too much work, avoid the avoidance, run from these people, then go away and stop watching videos on getting an avoidant ex back. If you're so done with them, as you would like to have us all believe, then why are you taking the time to not only watch a video on avoidance, but to also leave a negative comment about them? So go away and date an anxious or a secure. If you don't want to have emotional mastery, then you should not date an avoidant. Okay? So now I want to hear from the rest of you. Has your ex tried any of these tests on you, and what happened? And in the meantime, if you would like my help to get your ex back, you can contact me at theartoflove.net/coaching, and we will send you the rates. They are not on the website, and the link to that is underneath every single video and podcast. If you found this video helpful, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. If you're listening to this as a podcast, then You can also subscribe to not miss future podcasts. And finally, remember, love inspires, empowers, uplifts, and enlightens.